don't know what to say.
Welcome to episode 1 of Rapid Fire Sessions with your hosts,
Marcelo
and Felicia. So we thought that we would start up a little bit of a podcast. I feel like we've got a lot to talk about, not generally about fitness or nutrition, but a lot more about life and experiences. And at the end of the day, these are just our personal experiences and our personal opinions. But we thought that you might enjoy some of the things, you might learn a few things, you might have some questions.
So people might help us out also in comments. And stuff like
100%. So this is episode 1, and we're going to do episode 1 as a kind of get to know us, talk a little bit about who we are, our backgrounds, and
what we're looking to achieve.
a good one.
So, Felicia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hopefully we don't say so often. Obviously, welcome. My name's Felicia. I am a personal trainer, an online coach, and soon to be a exercise scientist. What I'm going to do with that degree, don't know. However, it's been an interesting 4 years where I've learned a lot of new content that I definitely didn't learn through a online PT course. I've learned a lot about the human anatomy, biology, chemistry, even physics. So it's been an interesting 4 years. I am also I have a business degree in events management and marketing. So my previous life before getting and delving into the world of health and fitness was actually in retail marketing. I used to work for Westfield. I did that for 6 years. So I did 4 years customer service for Westfield and then 2.5 years in marketing, which was interesting. I learned a lot about people. People are interesting, and they're interesting in this industry too.
It's funny how you love watching people.
I love watching people. I find people beyond interesting. They are the strangest creatures.
To put it into context, she would just go to the shopping centre to sit down and have a coffee. And instead of talking to me, she will just watch people.
I just love it. I just think there's nothing more entertaining. People are so bizarre and they do the strangest things and they do it in public and they don't even realise they're doing it. I think that's the funniest part is they don't even realise, that they're picking their wedgie in public or really getting up in their nostril and they're like, yeah, my long nail is really helping me today. So
I'm one of those guys.
You actually are, and that's what's gross. But anyway, that's a little bit about my background. Marcelo,
segue.
What about you?
Not so qualified. I don't have any fitness or science backgrounds. I come from a sales, digital marketing side, if that's the thing. I think my sport side of things comes from playing soccer. I used to play in Argentina on a very high level, and then unfortunately had a injury which then took my course of life in a different path to drugs, alcohol and parties, which now I'm feeling I don't regret nothing. It's just more being with someone in the background like Felicia sort of helped me get back on my feet. And if I found her, or if I had someone like her 10 years ago, I would have been different trajectory. But how life goes, we cross paths at the right time. And I feel this is probably the best times of our lives where I can now play soccer again. And just being alongside Felicia on this journey has allowed me to put in my experience of, training, motivating myself, being a independent
human being.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that what might be interesting to talk about today is that background of yours in, I guess completely. We'll skip past the fact that you played sport because I'd like to talk about that another time, and I'd like to talk about your journey of sport and then, of course, my journey of sport. And they're obviously a little bit different, but it would be nice maybe to talk about your life after sport and the drug scene, the party scene, and how that's affected your life during that time and kind of how it's affecting you still to this day. I think it would be really interesting. I find that there's a lot of people out there that have obviously dabbled in drugs, and maybe they only did it once or twice. And I think there are a few people that have fallen down the hill of drugs. I think there are people now that have come out of being potentially drug addicts. I just find that in our world today, it's so easily accessible to get drugs and to take drugs and to be part of our kind of weekend scene. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that all happened?
So I had a back injury which stopped me from playing soccer. Soccer was my be-all and end-all, and it just so happened life threw me another curveball and said, oh, why don't you just become a DJ? And so I became a DJ, which that sort of scene, being a curious-minded person, I wanted to do a bit of everything. And I felt at the beginning, it wasn't a love for music or anything like that. It was just a way to get into a club for free, get free drinks, and you get laid.
Are you talking about being a DJ specifically?
Well, when I started, that's where why I went. That instead of figuring out what my problems were with soccer, it was I'm in so much pain, I need to change something. Run DJing just fell in my lap.
Right. Did you always love music though? Is that why you were like DJing?
My mum was a music teacher, and we were always brought up my dad was an entertainer himself, and we were always brought up in entertaining.
Yeah.
And music was something that sort of had a connection with my mum, and sort of said, all right, soccer was connection with my dad, didn't go that way, then let's do what my mum had that connection. I think it was the link.
Right.
And then I went that path. Not knowing nothing about drugs or anything, I didn't really care. I wasn't even brought up to think about that kind of stuff. But when I was exposed to it, I was curious.
Yeah. And what was your first exposure to it, or how did that first exposure happen?
I used to help with an event here by a company called ID&T. They used to run a Sensation White. To be specific, it was 2008, and amongst that sort of environment, that was my first event to be involved in, first festival, and a friend of mine said, have this pill. It was a pill, it was a white Merc, it was called. It was MDMA and heroin based, and it fucking was great.
So when someone said that to you, that first instinct, you were like, yeah, I'm going to take this. Or did you take a moment and question, like, if I take this, this could potentially end my life? Or if I take this, it could have a bad effect on me. Did that ever cross your mind? It was like, yeah, I'll take this.
No. So ever since soccer, when I played soccer, it was all about pushing my body to a limit, knowing that if I was to die today, I would be happy doing what I loved. And when it came to the music scene and all that kind of stuff, I knew people were doing these kind of things and the experiences that they were having. I felt very confident with the people that I was with. Never crossed my mind that this was bad or this was good. It was just YOLO, let's do it. And then from there was another drug, just always trying to chase that feeling again. Crossing from...
Did you try to chase that feeling because you were trying to mask?
I was masking, of course. I failed my life goal, and that was to become a professional soccer player.
Okay.
And I failed. And that failure probably, still lingers on with me today.
It does.
I do
we still
feel
struggle
it,
today.
I still struggle it, and it is a battle that I will continue to have until I actually make it.
Right. we won't go into that today because I think that's another story about sport. On a segue, we actually initially met in 2009. 2009 at a nightclub when Marcelo was DJing. I have a very vague memory of this. I don't really know the interaction. I think I was out with a couple of girlfriends and I was rude. He was trying to pick me up. He was trying to give me some free drink cards. I was not interested because, to be honest, most of the time I was designated driver. So I was like, I don't care about your drink cards. And then apparently I added Marcelo onto Facebook back then. But then we reconnected, I think it was 5 or 6 years after that. Yeah. And then we've been together now nearly 4.5 years. But that's just the backstory of actually how we met. But it was at a nightclub, which is where he was DJing. But let's go back to your drugs, talking about your drugs and how it affected you. So you took your first hit, and then from there, how did it would you say it started to spiral, that became drugs really became part of your almost everyday-ish life?
Every day for 6 years.
Every day for 6 years?
Every day for 6 years.
And what was it that you were taking?
I used to DJ from Tuesdays till Sunday. Monday was my day off, and I used to work. At the time, I used to work at a call center because I knew it just happened that my target audience all worked at a call center, and in that kind of environment was the kind that used to go clubbing. So it was a win-win for me where I get paid both DJing and entry because I would get to party with my friends. And as a compensation for that was being exposed to free drugs every day, alcohol. Got to a point when I was 23, I used to bleed from my kidneys because so much alcohol.
Can you tell us about that? What?
It was fucked. So I was in a very, I wouldn't say bad, I wasn't in a bad place. I was more just...
Would you say you were numb? You were numb to...
I was in pilot mode.
Yeah.
And drugs would just close off any sort of bad feeling I had.
Right.
And being allowed to, because I played soccer as a striker, score goals. So every time I scored a goal, I'd be happy, cheering, blah, blah, blah. And then DJing had that sort of feeling where you'd be up on top, everyone's cheering for you. So I was like, well, this has less effort to become something good here. How can I just keep doing it? And the scene then, there was a connotation that if you're a DJ, you had to be doing drugs, alcohol, and women. And that's what I did. It was like breakfast, lunch, and tea. It was just a resume.
Did it get tiring, that life?
Well...
Were there times that you wanted to just kind of shut the door on it and go...
I never had... people have... When you have drugs, you go up, and whatever goes up, you have to come down at some point. And it was knowing when you were going to come down to just go back up. So I was never down. And I was thankful for my ex-girlfriend, the last one, that she cheated on me. She was a drug abuser. She was just a whole another level that it opened my eyes to say, I don't want to be like this anymore. And if I continue down this path, I'm either going to die or my mind is just going to go fucking loopy.
Right.
And yes, I have my tendencies to be loopy now, but I don't think I'm 5 years sober, so yeah.
Sober on what?
I still have recreational drugs, i.e. marijuana is my perfect choice, but I don't touch anything else. To put it into context, I haven't touched nothing since being with Felicia from day one.
It'd be interesting to talk about marijuana. And I know that you're a massive advocate for it, which is great, I guess. why do you think, well, one, why do you don't classify marijuana as a drug and illegal, like you don't think it should be an illegal substance? Can you tell us why you think that?
It's not a drug. It's supposed to, everyone, it's not for everyone. It's like coffee, it's not for everyone. But for me, I find it gives me clarity, it helps me sleep. I'm not dependent on it to be doing things, but it allows me to be in the moment, and it allows me to think outside the box.
Right.
If I have ADD, and if I need to do something where I need to sit down for hours, I would have a smoke and you won't see me for a few hours until I get it done. And that sort of thing is where I used to, it's like a super drug. If you use it to what it's supposed to, what it's for, it could help different kind of things.
Right.
I used to use it to make music.
Yeah.
Because I used, like, when people needed to get certain projects done, I would close myself in a room and you wouldn't see me for 2 or 3 days until that project is done.
Right.
I think if it's used for why God created it for, then it shouldn't be illegal. It's like opium. Opium, if used to the right thing, it's not a drug.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, it just depends what people use it for.
I think it becomes addictive for...
Like ice and all that shit, like, that's homemade crap. God didn't create that. That's human shit. That's shit. But
so if it's
we can edit it.
Oh, yeah, I think we're still going. So if it comes from the ground, it's
not about coming from the ground. If it comes from a natural source, then it's all right. Like cocaine comes from a plant. If used and you chew the plant leaf for what it is, it helps. It's got medicinal properties for it.
Right.
But because of human, we try to invent shit and we make it into cocaine. Marijuana, like teenagers use it as a fun bullshit, but if used for what it does, it helps so many things, man.
Can we delve into something that's going to be a little bit personal? You obviously used marijuana during a very difficult time of your life.
Yep.
Bit of very quick context is that Marcelo's dad has passed, but he was very unwell with cancer. We did a bit of research into the benefits of marijuana on cancer patients, more so for pain relief. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and I guess how you found, well, one, what you did with the marijuana, and two, how you felt that benefited your dad or what his response was to it during his time of chemo?
Yes, it was pain relief for my old man, and like my old man's never touched a drug in his whole life, and to experience something with him on a level, on a mutual level, nothing will ever replace that. And the conversations we've had whilst under marijuana, I mean, I didn't forget, you know, like people will say if you smoke weed, you forget whatever. It's like,
yeah.
I remember all that shit crystal clear. The misconception is that, yes, there's information out there that marijuana helps with cancer and all that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of things that contribute to the, sorry, this is where I just talk shit and I just blabber off.
I think he's
I'm trying to work
a bit,
out.
Lost in translation on the question.
It's just more.
I think I want to tell them more about the question. More was about what did you do with the marijuana? There was one thing that you did do during that time.
Oh, the butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made butter.
Okay, explain
for the consumption. Because
why?
The cancer was in his
liver.
In his liver. So when you smoke, obviously there's a process that it takes time, and
goes through your lungs.
And what we found, what I've with research found, that if it's consumed there's a much more rapid effect. And to see your loved one in such pain and discomfort, knowing that they don't want to end now, but they are going through all this pain and all this kind of shit, to put your science hat on and just create the house ponged for like a week.
It was pretty stinky. It's a very long process. It took you like an entire day to make.
Yeah. Oh, it takes 2 days because you have to put it in the fridge for it to chill after and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to go around teaching and be an advocate for it, but what I found with that, I think it was just that bonding session with the old man. You know, it wasn't.
So, I mean, like, there's obviously, it's an illegal drug. Technically, it's an illegal drug. So, however, it is legalized in some countries, some states, some places. And I think it's because they've realized that, and I do not condone, driving or moving heavy machinery whatsoever under any influence, whether it be alcohol, whether it be drugs. Like, none of that should be happening because you do not have the the full function of your body because you are under the influence of something. However, I think that there are sometimes a drug that, like Marcelo said, comes from the ground. It's not a man-made drug. It is something that has literally come from the soil, has been created. And I think it has been abused by a lot of people, but I also think that there's a time and a place where that type of drug may have a benefit to someone's body or brain based on the requirements of that person.
To put into context of the content, the reason why I started marijuana was because of my back issues. And I was abusing Voltaren at the time. So when I was 18, I had 5 epidurals, 2 in Argentina and 3 in Australia. And to go through that and then still feel pain was the worst thing. And I found, because I still wanted to play, Voltaren was just numbing that area and I could still play, but then my mornings were just fucked. And I was reliant on Voltaren to make me feel good, to keep going, to the point where I was using it almost every day for a year. And when you abuse something for that long, you're going to have a consequence of something. And I was lucky not to have ulcers in my stomach and stuff like that. And I was sort of lucky enough to cross a path with someone that introduced me to marijuana, and it sort of just changed my life from there. In the sense of, I still to this day don't touch pharmaceutical drugs unless I am in severe pain.
And I think pharmacological drugs are there for a reason. However, I think that in today's society, we just accept that pharmacological drugs are the be-all and end-all to everything. And I think that there's a lot of times where people need to maybe seek out other allies or other treatment options that isn't always just going to see your doctor to get a script for something. And that's something I'm really passionate about. I'm really strong-headed on, and I will be the first one to put my hand up and say, I take Neuromol when I get my period. And I absolutely do, because I'm in excruciating pain because I have issues with my ovaries. However, that is another discussion. But I actually minimize that. If I can avoid taking it, like if my, pain is only at a 7 or, a 7.5, 8 out of 10, and I can use a heat pack or go for a light walk or have a cup of tea or do something else instead, then I would prefer to do that. However, there's times when I need to function, I need to train my clients, I need to move. And if I can't physically move, I can't do my job. So I think, once again, there's a time and a place for pharmacological drugs. But I think that in today's society, we're so lazy and we just accept that whatever our doctors say is what we should be doing. And I think that it's okay to question your doctor, and I think that you should. I think that every now and again you should be like, no, I don't feel right about that. And I'm not sitting here saying that illegal drugs are the option, because I don't think that they're the option. I think that, looking at the absolute basics, are you moving your body? Are you doing any form of exercise? What does your food look like? Are you eating nutritious food that your body actually needs to absorb? Or are you constantly just going for the easy option again, which is junk food or fast food or, pre-made meals? And I've got nothing against pre-made meals if they're made in a healthy way. In what I mean is that they're not stuffed with preservatives so they can sit in the freezer for 2 years time. I just think that we need to start opening our mind and our eyes to other alternatives of treatments, and that drugs, both pharmacological or illegal, are not the only options to helping.
Pharmacological or natural?
Yeah, but people might choose ice or cocaine and be like, it makes me feel great. And it's like, well, that's not what I'm really getting at. What I'm getting at is that there's other healthier alternatives.
The Chinese medicines.
Chinese medicine's great, but once again, time and a place. It really depends on your issue. And going back to Marcelo's back, when we first started dating, he could not even get out of bed, like struggled for years. And it wasn't until we spoke to one of our friends who was a podiatrist who told him, mate, just come to me. We'll get you some orthotics. It'll make a difference. And we're like, orthotics?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Marcelo was like, hold on, when I was younger, I wore orthotics to play sport. So we got some orthotics, and honestly, we've barely had any issues.
I cannot thank Jared enough for that. It was weird because we went out for dinner with him and I was complaining, and then he just told me to take my shoes off, and he's like, well, you got this issue. And then
mind blown. So that has meant that there's been a reduction in the use of any type of drug because it hasn't been needed.
Well, what pisses me off more is because I went to rehab, I went and saw physios, chiros, you name it, osteos.
And we're not bagging them out.
No. But no one dared to check how my feet were and what it was causing. So I had like a piriformis issue and my leg was turned in a certain way. So when I'm running, it's obviously hitting up there, but no one decided to just go, oh, let's look at the foundations of things. And then maybe over time, your leg might just turn with a bit of orthotic, which Jared just instantly said, do this. And I just said, you know what? I've tried everything. I'm going to do this. Did it. And I haven't complained since.
Not really. No, you haven't.
No. And I'm at the gym doing squats and deadlifts and no problems. Running, like, can't fathom. And I'm, grateful to have that path crossed for that.
Sometimes Marcelo uses words that don't really fit in a sentence, but we just go along with it.
My pronunciation of words also you'll find, is terrible.
I hope we get some funny ones along our episodes.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much your drug story.
Yeah, so I was never addicted because I gave it up when I met you so easily. It was more...
I became his drug.
No, but it's more... It was clear that it was something... My environment was shit.
Yeah.
My friends that I had at the time were poorly chosen for what my goals were.
Yeah.
And being in the entertainment industry, you sort of question who is a friend and who is a foe.
Because as soon as you left the industry, it was like,
no
one.
Well, once you...
Where was anyone? No one.
Every day my phone used to just go off, give me entry into this, can you do this, can you do that? And then once you take a step away, yes, you miss that and you go through a spiral of who the fuck am I? But you sort of, over time, wake up to your senses and say, okay, well, that's what those people wanted and that's who I was to them. And now I'm on to this next chapter where sort of learning, doing safe to say I lived my 20s to the fun potential. Tick that off, I say. I've had lots of fun. And now it's more going back to, okay, now you go back to learning, redevelop yourself, get your brain wiring back to where you needed to get to, and finding my happy place and playing soccer again. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think we will leave it at that, and we'll come back for another episode about something else.
Yeah. Just to put some, what's that word? Housekeeping.
No. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not allied. I'm not anything professional in the sense of I can't tell you to take this or do that. But what I can tell you is our handles are Instagram, Felicia Soria _.
Yep.
And I'm Marcelo Peto 12, MARCELOPETO, the number 12. And FeliciaSoria.com.
And we will see you next time for episode 2.
On Rapid Fire.